TechTalk. I'm speaking with Grant Olmes, Regional Sales Manager for Brabender Technologie, and we will be discussing the benefits of automated ingredient delivery with volumetric and gravimetric feeding. Hi, Grant. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Joni. Thanks for having me.
So this technology is really interesting. And the first thing I want to talk about is the different types of powders and dry ingredients that can be metered through automation. Let's talk specifically about how automation can improve the process for certain dry ingredients like minors and micros.
By automating a micro or a minor ingredient to a batch process, for instance, the expectations are improving or having an improvement specific to, for instance, plus or minus precision of the delivery of these ingredients, as well as repeatability or the closeness between results over and over and over again. So that's one definition of where we come in as a manufacturer that provides automated equipment. In combination with the equipment like our feeders, information is also available from the controls for data collection. What was the plus or minus precision per each batch, or how long did it take to deliver that batch from the feeder, or how many batches were delivered, and so on. So the expectation is to be more precise and more repeatable.
Brabender uses both volumetric and gravimetric metering. Can you talk about the difference between the two and which technology works for specific product types or ingredient types or even specific operations?
Volumetric simply refers to the supply or metering of a certain volume of ingredient over a period of time. Let's say just a round number, 100 pounds per hour, 45.5 kg per hour. Take, for example, one of our many models that we manufacture, but I'll just use this as an example, our Flexwall 40 plus, which has like a 1.5 inch diameter screw maximum by a 1.5 inch pitch, or the distance between the flights. That's the biggest screw we can put in that model. The ingredient, therefore, when it's placed into the machine or our feeder, is going to end up at that screw. And when that screw is rotated, that is essentially connecting with that volumetric technology. We're taking a supply of a certain amount of volume in that flight and delivering that to the downstream process. So when the ingredient gets to that flight and it's rotating, based on the RPM, that 100 pounds per hour can be dialed in from that feeder. The way to verify that, Joni, is it's pretty straightforward. Is probably the best way. The operator is at the end of that feeder or our feeder with a catch container, a collection piece of hardware, a bucket, or whatever that might be, catching a certain amount of ingredient over a period of time, let's say 60 seconds. And they verify that. So they catch a minute of product from the discharge of the feeder, and then they go to a scale. He or she goes to a scale and weighs it. And once they do that scale, once they do that weight, or they measure that weight, then they can determine what RPM that feeder needs to be in order to be at that 100 pounds per hour. They catch a few of those samples, and then they can determine how repeatable that delivery is from that volumetric feeder as well. So moving over to the gravimetric side, we still have the feeder, it's rotating ingredient with that screw, the geometry is fixed. However, the difference is we integrate a scale into the feeder. So there's no third-party scale off of the feeder. It's all part of the same piece of equipment. So now we're not only volumetrically delivering, but we're now gravimetrically feeding. Yes, we're actually weighing ingredient as it's leaving the feeder. So the ultimate and plus or minus precision is now provided because we're weighing as we're feeding.
Wow, it's amazing the level of precision that you can get to with these types of ingredients that have traditionally been reserved for hand scaling.
There's nothing wrong with the manual, scoop and scale technology. It's just that, as we know more than ever, there's been some challenges in the last couple of years, and labor shortages, for instance, is a big deal right now. And by automating the micro or very small weighments, that we know are traditionally performed by hand can definitely assist with the batch performance and ultimately the throughput. On the continuous side of ingredient delivery to the downstream continuous process, a mixer, extruder, the process is continuous, not like the batch process. So we know there's two different ways of doing things. And again, we totally understand and know the reasons why manual batch operations are still very, very necessary and very efficient. It's just that there is some ingredients that perhaps there is now the attention more than ever because of what we've gone through and what's happening now with the labor climate, and having a machine being able to assist.
Grant, you mentioned something earlier about sort of the user friendliness with this technology. Can you elaborate on that with me and talk about some of the technology like AR that Brabender is tapping into?
You know, we have found online meetings have been pretty popular lately. So we've had to pivot. We've had to reach our audience when we couldn't reach our audience, and we had to make it so there was an advantage to a virtual meeting. There should be something dynamic to implement into the presentation to assist what we're talking about. So for instance, we were talking earlier about, the importance of screw fill efficiency or filling those flights efficiently. Our AR device, our augmented reality device, can basically drop into a boardroom via online Teams meeting or with me in person, but having my smart device project the machine onto the table and using that smart device to actually, open it up and take a look at what's happening inside.
Do you have anything that you would like to demonstrate with how that augmented reality works?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is what we call our Flexwall 40 Plus. This is showing the machine in its entirety. This is basically the machine as you'd get off the skid and put into your facility. So we've got our extension hopper on top. We've got our base unit on the bottom. That base unit's attached with an AC motor. We have our junction boxes that are wired to the load cell and to the AC motor. There's a load cell at the bottom of this piece of machinery that weighs the equipment and the ingredient inside. When it's user friendly, it's very well accepted. But on the other hand, when we're talking to the audience, what we just went over just earlier about the importance of getting ingredient into those screw flights and what happens when we're volumetrically or gravimetrically feeding, as we zoom in, we can see that screw assembly that I talked about earlier and the importance of ingredient falling into those screw flights. So in combination with having a motor that rotates a screw, we also need to agitate the ingredient to get it moving reliably into those screw flights. So we use agitation paddles on both sides of our Flexwall. That's our trademark Flexwall hopper. And that Flexwall hopper moves back and forth to keep the ingredient moving. And that ingredient moving to the screw flights, as we talked about earlier, is very important with getting very repeatable results at the discharge end.
Grant, this is so incredible that you can give a full demonstration of the technology right from your computer or in a conference room. So to take the first step in learning more, what's the best way for a baker to get more information?
Excellent. So they can contact me. I'm on LinkedIn. If they were ever to search me, I'm there. But our website, it provides everything. Brabender Technologie.com, Brabender-technology.com, and you'll get to our landing page. So once they get there, they can take a look at our equipments, our products, our information, our stories, and from there they can get in contact us anywhere on the planet. So that would be probably the most universal way for someone to connect with me. But by all means, Grant Olmes, Brabender Technologie. I've been with the company now almost 23 years. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Wonderful. Well, Grant, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me about this really cool technology today.
Thank you, Joni. I really appreciate it. Good to see you.